everyone, and welcome back to episode 8 of Crack the Egg podcast. I'm Adriana,
And I'm Jess.
and today we will be interviewing a fellow crochet small business owner, Avian of Florals and Feathers. Um,
Hi.
we're so excited to have you here, Avian. Can you tell us what are you crocheting right now while we record?
So I chose something that I think is a little bit mind-numbing for me, and those are anchors. I wanted to make an anchor, so I didn't really have to pay attention.
That's honestly so fair. Jess, what
Anchor
do
is
you
a
think?
sore subject around here.
Oh yeah,
I know. I'm
the
so
drama.
sorry. So sorry.
That's one of my summer projects is to work up the nerve to make another one. But I do not know when I will actually force myself to sit down and do it.
It's a mini anchor, if that
Oh,
is
okay.
any consolation.
That's a little better.
I have not dabbled in the minis yet. I need to. That will probably help me work
It'll
up to
change your
really
whole
good.
mindset about Anchor if you do a mini one.
Really?
Will it?
I think so. It made me feel better because the big ones
Because
just
they're
I was
quicker.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
That's
I
fair.
get I guess so, maybe. I don't know. I just get so much, the large ones just come out so beautiful that,
they
you
do.
know, I had that anchor binge back in December and I made like 14 or 15 of them. And yeah, so the large ones are just so gorgeous, but the minis are also cute.
Holy cow, go you. That's
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll make 14 in this lifetime. So good for you.
Yeah, I was stuck on them for like 2 weeks straight.
14 in 2 weeks. Holy cow. I'm
Yeah.
amazed.
To
Well,
get that many in
I
that time is an accomplishment.
don't have a day job. This is like, my job. So I could do like two a day if I really put my mind to it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Jess, what are you crocheting?
I'm working on another wolf from Mom Stitch Eddie. I'm doing it with the mindset that if I have any left at the end of sci-fi, I will donate one to the wolf sanctuary.
Oh,
Oh,
that's a nice idea.
You both were simultaneously. Oh,
I love that.
it's one of the cutest things you've ever done.
I know. I'm so nice. What about you, Adriana? What are you working on?
I'm still working on tofu turtles. These I batch made a bunch of shells yesterday because I didn't have any blue turtles left, and so these are hopefully going to be the last turtles I make for probably, I don't know, a couple weeks because I really need to get ready for this next show and switch over to loaf cats because I don't have any of those now. And loveys. Those are going to be kind of the two main things I make leading up to this next show. So, yeah.
So are you prepping for the store or are you prepping for market?
Right now, the market, and then as soon as the market ends, I have to switch back over to the store. So, in the last episode or 2 episodes ago, I shared how I got into a second store, but I don't
Oh,
think that episode came out yet, at the time that we're recording this. And so, the plan is so my next show is the 14th of June.
hmm.
The plan is to set up that store between like June 20th and the 23rd because I'm going to be traveling basically for 3 weeks from the 24th into the middle of July. And so I'll also need to do a restock of the current store during
Hmm.
that time too. So I will be crocheting a lot, but thankfully summer break is coming. And so I'll have the time and I'll be able to act like this is my full-time job, so to say.
Do you have stuff, do you have markets planned for after when you come back from vacation?
I was going to try to do one in July, but I honestly, like, when I sit and think about it, like, it probably doesn't make sense because, when I'm traveling, I'm going to be in Germany and then in Florida. And, like, since neither one of those are like road trip situations, it's going to be really hard for me to bring a lot to crochet. And since the
Hmm.
majority of what I sell, if not all of what I sell at this point, involves polyfill, like bringing that stuff is just seems like a lot of space to sacrifice in my luggage. So I don't know if I'll even be able to really recoup anything while I'm gone as far as market prepping goes. So most likely I won't have another market until um mid-August, I think would be the next one.
You know my thought though. I'm like, just bring whatever you have. Like, do the market and bring what you got. Like, they don't know that you didn't make more, so they don't know that you're underprepared for it, you know,
Yeah.
or always over prepared like me.
I want to make a little comment before we get started today. I think it was the day after we last recorded, something exciting happened for Adriana.
Oh my gosh.
Our girl got engaged.
Oh yes, congratulations. I saw that.
Thank you. I'm gonna be honest, I knew it was coming. But the way in which he did it, I did not know that was coming. So we won't become a wedding podcast, but like to the extent that people express interest in knowing what's happening, I'll definitely share. But he took me to this German village that's in Lancaster, and it looks like, your pretty typical little German town. And there's this pond that's in the back of the town, and he took me there, and there was no one around, so it was like super quiet, peaceful, and that's where he got down on one knee and popped the question. And so that was at this point of recording about 2 weeks ago. And so the last couple weeks have been me trying not to plan the entire thing right away because that is unfortunately my personality and who I am. But we did just tour a venue this past weekend, and we're looking at December 2026 because ideally I wanted 18 months to plan it so I would have ample time. And so, yeah, it's super exciting.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
Like exciting and overwhelming at the same.
Yeah, and honestly, like May was such a big month because it was like I got engaged, and then a couple weeks before that I won Teacher of the Year for my high school.
Mhm.
And so like having both of those things in one month was a lot. And but I'm very grateful for both, especially like to be engaged. We've been together, it'll be 5 years in August, so a long time coming, I would say. And it's something that we've talked about forever, and so it feels nice to actually be in that stage of life and doing this thing.
Mhm. Well, send a little luck my way for that one.
Will do.
Yeah, thanks.
So, Avian, can you introduce yourself to the people? Where you're from? Do you have any other hobbies or interests aside from crochet?
Yeah, so I grew up in Maryland, and I actually went to school down here at Mary Washington in Fredericksburg, which is where I am now. I lived in Florida actually for like 8 years, and then I moved back here in 2019. So I've been here since 2019, and I have been crocheting. I taught myself how to crochet in college. My mom taught me how to knit when I was young, so I've been knitting my whole life, but I taught myself to crochet in college, and it was just like, I just did it for fun. Except for my mom always brings up the one time she's like, "Remember that time you said that you would make like 15 scarves in 2 months? Like, ever do that again." And I'm like, "Okay, well, now I can do it." But, you know, she always
Thanks,
likes to
Mom.
bring that up. But yeah, and I was actually at a restaurant, and pandemic hit, and I picked up my hook again and just started crocheting a whole bunch of stuff, mainly blankets, and like I did a lot of scarves and a lot of like shawls and stuff like that. Didn't get really started into amigurumi probably, I don't know, until like 6 or 7 months after that. And then I had such a like overstock of product that I was in a store for a little bit, and I was at one down in Richmond, and then the same like overhead store up here in Spotsylvania. And I started doing markets, and that's when I just realized that I enjoyed markets more than having my stuff in a store. It just wasn't my thing. I really like just markets and like talking to people and interaction. And I just feel like I get a little bit more from it. Um, my other hobbies include gardening. I do like to garden. Um, not like crazy garden, but there is some stuff growing outside. And we have chickens, so I'm a chicken mom as well.
I love that.
Yeah.
So then you would say you've been doing markets now. Would this be like your fifth or sixth season at this point?
I probably started, gosh, maybe started doing markets in 2022.
Oh, okay.
So we're in like third year. This is my second straight year full time. So yeah, I'd probably say um yeah, 2022 is when I first started doing markets and like, you know, $25 table markets. Um and then I pretty much I think I got hooked after like awesome cons after I started doing bigger shows is when I really got hooked and essentially I was making the same, if not more money than I was at my restaurant job. So I was just like, I'm just going to do this. There's more tea that goes into it, but that's the that's like the small part of it.
Feel free to spill as much as you want at any point in our episode. You are more than welcome.
The
Um,
the gist was my boss didn't want me taking off weekends anymore. Like I just wanted to stay during the week and just, serve during the week and take off weekends. And he was like, you can't do that. And I was like, all right, well then it's not working. So I left.
Bye.
Yeah.
I think that's something like a lot of people are going to be really interested in this episode is the fact that you are doing this full time because I think like I know for myself and I can probably speak for Jess too like that is ultimately our dream like that what would be ideal to some extent I think how do you balance both doing crochet as a hobby but then also doing it for yourself as a business because I could imagine a world in which it would probably be a little easy to get burnt out on it if you aren't careful.
Um, I mean, I do have my times, like I will have times where I go like, probably a couple days without doing projects and I get a little bit tired of stuff, but when it comes to like burnout for me, I get more social media burnout where that was really hard, especially at the beginning of my business, because like watching other people constantly put stuff on social media and like I just had to realize that that's not my thing, like, and just stop comparing myself to others. And I think once that clicked in my mind, I kind of, you know, once I realized that, it would be fantastic to, to go viral and have 10, 20, 50,000 followers. That would be great. But at the same time, it's just not something that like I need to put pressure on myself for. And I just get followers like Jess has seen, like I'll get them at markets, primarily. Like I'll do them when I do my TikTok lives at markets. Or if I ever feel like doing TikTok lives, crocheting again. I haven't done those in, oh my gosh, it's been over a year since I've gone live and crocheted. But like, um, yeah, so I think it's about not comparing yourself to others and just doing the things that make you happy. I also don't get burnout because I don't hold myself accountable to lists. Like that's another thing that I realized about myself is that if I make a list and I'm like, I don't want to make 10 turtles, like, and then I'm like, I make them as I feel like it. And like, again, Jess knows, like, I make them big. Like, I'll make like 30 possums in like 2 or 3 days and then be done for like 2 months for making possums or bees or something like that. So, or anchors for the most part, right? I
Yeah.
made 15 anchors and I made, I think, two large anchors since then. Um, so I think it's just like learning how work best and not judging yourself compared to how other crocheters are performing or how other business people are performing. If that makes sense.
It's great advice and some that I need to take.
Yeah, stop How much did you make, Avian? Darn it. Just get so mad.
Oy.
That is like the one element I didn't really think about when I started this, like how much social media pressure there would be from becoming part of this community because like you said, you can watch other people and the way that they're growing and what they're doing. It's like, wow, why am I not doing that? Like that's not something that was ever a twinkle in my imagination. Like to some extent, like I would be aware of follower accounts, but there's so much more I feel like that goes into it when you're actually doing it for a business and not just like your personal everyday life.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I got, when I would hit like 1,000 on TikTok, I was like, yes, this is exciting. Or five on TikTok. And I was like, oh my God, like it was crazy. And I became so overwhelmed with it, like just in my mind, that I found that I was stressing myself out over it. And now I just really don't look at the numbers. I just put out, I wish it would get more views, but I'm not like I don't hold myself responsible or accountable for whatever algorithms that nobody understands, as to why people can or can't see my stuff. So when I started doing it like that, and because I know, everybody says like post every day or do two or like comment and do all that stuff. And I'm like, it's just not me. Like it's just not something that I need to be stressing myself out over. Because I found myself getting too anxious over those things I'm supposed to do. And then once I just started doing things like how I wanted to do them and when I felt like doing them, it just made it so much easier, um, for me at least.
Now, do you feel like with because I'm not 100% familiar, so I know that you have an e-commerce presence in the sense of because you also sell safety eyes and we can talk about that a little bit later. But as far as do you do any e-commerce with your actual finished items or even with patterns?
Um, I have some patterns that I've made, but they're all like smaller items. They're not really, they're not like big. I'm not good at making patterns, and everybody always asks, like, are you going to do a pattern? Are you going to make a, like, where is it your pattern? And I'm like, you know what? My mind just doesn't like work like that. Okay. I'm good at reading a pattern and being creative with it. Um, so like I do have a couple of like free patterns that are on my Instagram, that you can do for e-download on my website, which is just floralsandfeathers.com. And
Nice plug.
thanks. And so I do have those. As far as plushies, I have some plushies on my website, and I will do plushie drops if I don't have upcoming markets because I like to have stock. Like Jess knows, I like to have stock for my markets, and I like to have a lot of it. So I also don't want to get into a funk where I have to post like that I have 20 possums and then I have to make 20 possums because I know my mind. And if you tell me I have to make 20 possums, I'm just going to break down and
Yep.
be like, I'm not going to make 20 possums. So, I'd rather have my 20 possums for my shows than put them on my website. Um, it's just, but mainly my store is for the safety eyes. That's pretty much what it's for. And then it's Shopify, so it's for in-person selling as well.
That makes sense. Could you tell us the story behind your business name, Florals and Feathers?
It's actually not so exciting, but during the pandemic, when I was first at home making things, I was making magical headbands, with mouse ears that were feathers. I mean flowers. They were floral mouse ears. And because my name is Avian, which is bird related, so feathers, that's where it came from. And that's what I had first started, and I was first posting on Etsy during that time of just magical headbands. And then I started getting more into the crochet, and it just stuck. And there was even talk about me like changing my name, when I was like 2 years, 3 years into the business, like after the pandemic, and I just couldn't find something that was like, I don't know, relatable to like crocheting and birds that wasn't already taken. So it just stuck there. So now it's just there. I love it, but like it it really doesn't have anything to do with crochet.
Who cares?
Yeah,
I know.
mine doesn't either, so I get that.
Yeah, yours is an egg.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is holding a crochet hook in the logo, but I don't know how many people actually pick up on that. So,
Yeah, when I redesigned my logo, I mean it's if you can't see it, it's a nest with like balls of yarn and crochet hooks out of it because I wanted to look like eggs in there, eggs in a nest and stuff like that. And then it's got flowers around it. So like my logo has crochet related things in it, but it's just not where my name came from. And I'm sure there's a lot of businesses out there that started as one thing and ended up doing another. So I'm not the only one.
Yeah. People are rebranding all the time.
Yeah.
for real.
My sister, my just a small story on that one. My sister has a soap company. She constantly is like changing her logo, and she's only been in business for like 2 or 3 years since the birth of my nephew, so like 3 years. And like every 6 months, she's like, "I'm tired of it. I need a new logo." And we're like, "Why? You just made it." And like I've just been stuck on mine for the past like I haven't changed it, and it's been over a year and a half. I haven't changed my logo, so I'm like, don't if it ain't broke,
Right.
why do you need to fix it?
Not to mention, like, if you get like any kind of branding materials, whether it's tags
Yeah.
or banner or shirts or whatever, to have to constantly change those, like, oh, that'd be a lot.
Yeah.
Um, so you said you got into markets. Could you tell us a little bit about like how did that journey start for you? How did you find your first market? How did you know that was something you wanted to get into aside from, as you mentioned earlier, you had lots of stock that you wanted to sell?
Yeah, so that's pretty much how I got into it, is just because I had a lot of stuff at home and I wanted to like just get rid of it instead of having a whole bunch of plushies around. Um I found it, I don't know, maybe on Facebook, or it could be from talking to another friend who also did like markets and stuff like that. She had like a clothing boutique at the time. Um, I think it was more so Facebook though, is when I first started, that's how I found my markets. And I just found like local things that were really close to me. I was driving like maybe 30 minutes. Um, and then once I started getting into the market scene, the best advice I ever got was talk to your neighbor. Like talk to the people that are around you that are, if it's not another crocheter, but talk to somebody else and ask them, hey, what markets do you have coming up? Or, what markets do you like to do? What markets are good for you? Um, and I just kind of started talking that way to kind of figure out, what where I wanted to be in terms of markets. I can tell you that after one market, I don't know if Jess was on live at that time. The one market where I got stuck in that tornado warning, it was oh yeah, yeah. She hasn't told you this story. I was on TikTok live at one of my at a market, and it was a tornado warning. And I was literally, there's a picture of it. Somebody screenshotted it because I was on live and they were like, get off live. And I was like, I can't do anything. Like, I was literally hanging from my tent to keep it from blowing away. And it was like, there was 3 or 4 other people, vendors set up around me. So people were like, just let go of the tent. And I'm like, the amount of damage this would cause, like, people around me, I just stuck it out. So after that, and I still have a little bit of like PTSD from it anytime there's wind outside. Um yeah, I wanted to find indoor markets, and I've tried to primarily focus on doing indoor things. Um I don't do many outdoor markets anymore. There's a few that I've done repetitively, and I'll come back to, but yeah, that was rough. That was a rough day.
Girl, that's literally the end of like the new Twister movie. Like that's like where
Yeah.
when the big tornado comes. So like that's like actually
Let
terrifying.
me find the picture. You guys can like put it up right here of me hanging. My friend put like she screenshotted it of me hanging onto the yeah.
Send it
It
to me.
was
I'll send it to our person.
yeah, it was crazy. I don't know. I might have gotten a lot of TikTok followers because of that day. And I am maybe people are just loyal to me because they know what I've been through, but I don't know.
No wonder. I would totally understand after experiencing something like that, only wanting to do indoor. Because honestly, like outdoor anyway, like sometimes they can be really nice, but honestly, like I feel like a lot of times it can be such a hassle as far as like you have to set up the canopy and then you have to bring the weights and like even with having like an easy up canopy like I do now, it's still just like another thing to have to pack and lug around and yeah. And you never know if you're going to be subjected to the elements or not. So, yeah.
And another reason why I don't like outdoors is just because if there is weather and stuff like that, my setup isn't quick to break down. Like I do need at least an hour and a half to 2 hours to like set up. So like it's not that quick to break down. So if I do get stuck in any sort of weather, I'm kind of screwed as far as like making sure that my stuff stays, my stuff is okay. Um, so that's another thing. Could I change it? Sure, but I'd rather just do indoor markets to avoid all of that headache and like anxiety that I have.
Oh,
And
thank
since
you.
that time with like weather events, I have not showed up to places because of weather. Like if it's like a 25 or $50 day, like vendor fee, I'll just eat it and just like leave. Like I won't show up. I'm like, I'm not going because it's supposed to be, horrible weather. Now I did get stuck at Towson last year where it was raining, and that was like a $350 fee. So I was like, I have to at least try and make some money back. And it was like mist rain all day. It was really annoying. It was so annoying. But I made my money back at least, and then I like left.
Understandable. Um, so you also make safety eyes in addition to the items that you crochet. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got into that, how it's evolved for you, what you like about it?
Yeah, so I saw other creators doing safety eyes, and I just really wanted something that was like different. Um, I don't have any. Oh, no, I don't. I
I've
have
got
some
plenty right
Dexters.
here if you need them.
I have some Dexters, but like I don't have any of do you have any with the play pieces in them near you?
Oh, maybe.
Like that was pretty much why I wanted to get into it because I wanted really specific item relatable things. I can go get some. I have them in the other room.
I just saw one. Oh, I have one.
Yeah, so I had started putting like, you know, little clay pieces in them and stuff like that that were like theme specific. So, oh yeah, so these are some of the ones that were Jess has
That's so
the
sick.
the Uncle Sam's. So I was just making stuff that I wanted for myself. And I was actually on TikTok Live and I was making something and it was Christmas time. And I was making them and people were like, how do I get those eyes? And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, where'd you get them? I'm like, I made them. And they were like, we want them. And I was like, you guys actually want these? They were like, yes. So that's how I got peer pressured by TikTok people on TikTok Live to start making them, and I haven't stopped. Um, like I'll do like theme specific ones. These are the Dexter ones. So like Halloween when they have like the blood splatter. So I use them so much for like my Cthulhu's and my Mothman and all the creepy stuff, zombies and stuff like that, which Halloween is coming soon, guys. Everybody wants Halloween in July. So that's when it'll start. But yeah, that's how I got into it. That's how I got into safety eyes. I was peer pressured into it, and then it just hasn't stopped yet.
What does your process to make them look like?
Just like mixing the resin and glitters and then curing them under UVs. Sometimes they need like a backing, a white or a black backing, but most of the time they're just glitter, resin glittered on the, blank safety eyes that you get.
And as far as like how you choose to come up with designs or where you get your inspiration from, what does that look like?
Um, it could vary because like sometimes I'll do them for like season specific, like the ones that just had were for the 4th of July. I've done ones for Halloween, Christmas. I've had Easter ones, Valentine's ones, St. Patrick's Day ones. So sometimes they're just holiday. Most of the time throughout the year, they're just like some glitter that I have, that I really like. Most of my eyes are chunky glitter based. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I follow a lot of people online, but I don't really see a lot of people doing, you know, chunky glitter ones. A lot of the times you see it, they're like the foil based, like holographic ones, chrome ones.
Do you bring your safety eyes to markets?
Sometimes I will. If
And I
it's
asked
a
for them.
craft show, yeah, yeah. When Jess says, "Can I pick them up?" I'd like to place an order and I'll pick them up. Um, Sometimes I'll bring them if it's like a craft show and I know that it's going to be a higher, either people that are doing crafts, or I know that there's going to be other crocheters there or something like that. When I first had like the mystery eye sets, I brought a couple of those with me, but I think I sold like one or two, and it just doesn't make sense for me to pack them up when I'm not selling them. So I just direct people to my website and it just works like that. I've gotten a few orders from being at markets and people are like, "Oh, I crochet." And I'm like, "Oh, I make safety eyes. Here's my card. Check out go online, check out my site." And I know I've gotten some orders from there because like if I'll be in Pennsylvania, I'll get an order like the next day from Pennsylvania and I'm like, "Oh, that must be that person that I saw at the market yesterday." It was Jess. No,
That's actually a great segue. We didn't touch on this yet. How, because you and Jess know each other IRL. How did you guys meet?
first we met on TikTok.
Yeah. I want to hear your side of the story because I've got like a creeper stalkery story.
She followed me on TikTok and she was just watching my lives and everything like that. And then the first time we met was in Pennsylvania when I did the Harrisburg show.
Yeah.
Not the first time I did the Harrisburg show. So that would have been what, 2 years ago?
It
Because
was
I've
the
done it
first time.
twice.
Yep. It was the first time.
Yeah. So two
Uh,
years ago in August, probably,
mhm.
because that's usually when the show is. That's when we met. Um, you didn't bring me chocolate then. I think you
I
brought me
didn't bring
chocolate
you
the
chocolate.
next time. Yeah.
That's because the first time. Okay, so here's my side.
Okay.
I I don't know how long I've been watching you on TikTok live, but like Avian goes live at her shows, and it's one of those like motivational things where you can just crochet and listen to her through her show. And
Listen to my drama and as I talk
yeah.
to people and I sighed under my breath.
Yep. Yep.
Or like, did you see that fudge guy? That was the fun show. Were
Yeah.
you on during that show?
I don't remember. But
That was at Big Lick in Roanoke. I remember this show because it was a Super Bowl, so it was a February. And like I kept talking to people and because I wear my AirPods and stuff like that. And I'm like, guys, you should have seen this fudge guy. He's wearing gray sweatpants. And everybody was like, show him. And I was like, I already got fudge. I can't go back and get more fudge. And they're like, you got to go back and get more fudge. And I was like, fine. So I did. And that was a memorable show, obviously,
I
because we
might not
talked
have
about
been
a
on for
fudge
that
guy.
one.
I'm sorry you missed it because it was great. We went back over and I was like creeper status with my phone and like, can I get a rocky road, please? Like,
Yeah, but so one live she mentioned Harrisburg, and I was like, wait a minute. Do you mean Four State at the whatever place? And she's like, yep. And I immediately thought, crap, there's a good crocheter gonna be there. I have competition. Um, but also it was exciting. And then I saw you walking around the floor
Uh-huh.
and we didn't know each other like first names. And I very rudely was like, hey, you.
Yeah, you did do that. You
I
did
was
that.
like, hey, I was the one on TikTok who asked if you were gonna be here.
And at the time, I was like, who the heck
I I
says,
felt
hey,
horrible when
you?
you left. I was so nervous to meet you in real life. It was like a celebrity sighting.
That's how I felt when I met Felicia
Yeah.
at Grim Grinning Goats. I was like a kid and I was like, oh my gosh, hi. Like, how are you? And she's so nice. She's so nice.
Yeah,
She
you
did buy
walked away
safety
and I
eyes
was like,
from me.
what? She did?
Yeah, because it was a 2-day event in Richmond. And she's like, oh, I see your safety eyes. And I was like, oh yeah, make them. I said, do you need some? She goes, yeah, sure, bring me some. I was just gonna give them to her because, it's Grim Grinning Goats. Like, I was just gonna give them to her. But she paid for them, and I was like, oh, great. She didn't pay what like she would normally have paid, but like she got a little bit of discount, but like it was still great. Yeah, I told my mom that I was gonna be on this and I had to send her the YouTube link. She's like, I don't have Spotify. I was like, okay, mom, that's fine.
My dad didn't either until I downloaded it for him. He's like, I don't know what this is.
Funny. Oh, there's
Back on
another
track.
tentacle. I'm gonna finish these tentacles, guys, on here.
Oh my
Did you
God.
have any done before we started?
No, I made 4.
Bruh.
It's the
She is
minis.
making the smaller one though,
I
so
am
I
making the
can see
minis.
it.
It's
Yeah.
still like, I don't know, beyond my comprehension. Maybe I could manage it a little bit, but I don't think
She's
so.
just making the suckers though, I noticed. She's
Yeah.
not making the full tentacle.
Oh,
So
that's fair. Yeah, maybe I could have gotten 4 done in this time. Maybe.
Oh, and then next time I saw Jess in person, she brought me chocolate because she
you
went
had
to
eyes for
Hershey
me.
like yeah she, she went to Hershey like well like 1 or 2 days before.
No, I live here, so I was like, do you want anything?
Oh, I thought you were like actually going for a purpose. You
No.
literally just went to get me chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that was great.
I
They were
was
good. They
like,
were the mocha
I need to
chocolates.
make
I was running
friends. What
low.
can I do?
And then she bought me like 4 boxes of chocolate that I'm still eating. Like, how am I going to eat so many Hershey Kisses? Thank you.
So we've talked like a lot about your TikTok and like how you do it while you're at shows.
Mhm.
What's been like the feedback you've gotten on that as far as like followers and engagement, but then also what has been your journey with that so far and how do you like it?
So I really like doing live markets. I'm not the type of person, as I sit here and crochet and talk to people, but like, I'm not the type of person to sit and crochet at my booth because I just don't feel like I'm inviting. Um, because I'm counting and I'm like, I have to, it's just annoying for me to like bring all the stuff with me. And like you said, I would want to bring polyfill and like I need eyes and like I need all that stuff. So, and I would be bound to forget something because I know myself. Um, but also having just like resting crochet face, I just don't feel like I'm inviting. So it's essentially like a good thing to pass the time. I can like gossip about things that like other people are like, oh yeah, that's really annoying. Like, or like issues that I'm having with like customers interactions. That one time that I was at Hagerstown and that guy asked me for my number and I didn't even realize he was hitting on me until like everybody on TikTok was like, you realize he just asked for your number. And I was like, oh no, I didn't at all. Um, it went completely over my head. So I don't know. They enjoy listening to interactions with like me and customers. Sometimes I'll have people and they can actually hear like what the customers are saying, or like Jessica gets annoyed when the kids are screaming in the background. Like, so, you know, you guys get enjoyment from it. But people on that are listening on TikTok get enjoyment from it because I feel like it's entertaining for you to see how my markets are going. Like Jess said, for her, it gives her motivation to like go do markets and interact with people. Um, but for me, it just helps pass the time. And it keeps me like engaged with people when they're not at my booth. Um, and you guys get to see the crazy crap that happens at markets too. Like things you wouldn't believe unless you saw it.
Yeah, I definitely don't think the general public like has a true like comprehension of not only the way other people act at markets, but also the way that their actions are perceived by the actual makers. Like,
And other crocheters in the community too. And they'll all comment and be like, wow, really? You know, I don't know necessarily if, I mean, most of the people who I think listen to me during markets are fellow crocheters. I do have another thing that I have gotten from is, oh, and I have to send her an invoice. I'll get orders. Like, I totally forgot about that. Like, I'll get orders, or people will be like, can I have that bear? And I'm like, sure. So I've started like, selling my items. And when I first started, I was like, you can have it at the end of the show if it's available. And now I'm just like, if you want it, you can buy it because it just helps with my sale at the show. So I have gotten orders from it for things that are for custom orders and then also for, things that I currently have in stock.
as far as your actual then show schedule, what before we get into like specifics of like how this year is going, what's kind of your approach at this point as far as both the types of shows that you select and then also the frequency at which you're trying to set up at different events?
So I'm to the point now that I'm pretty selective on the shows that I do. And I'm in a Comic-Con circuit for the most part. So I'd like to do those events for two reasons. One, they're usually 2-day events. So, I don't have to set up and take down in the same day. And two, they're pretty much indoors, and tornadoes. So, I'd rather do an indoor event. So I'm pretty much in the Comic-Con circuit. I do have a couple of outdoor shows, like I said, that I am selective on doing, because I know there's a couple of things when I look for if I'm doing a new market. I look for like how many people they're expecting to have, the price of the market compared to like how long it is. Usually for like 1-day events, I won't do more than $200 a day. Um, so that's a thing. And then I also take into consideration, do I have an upcoming big show going on or something like that? So I will do like a smaller, home craft show before like a larger event. If I know that it's just going to be like, and Adriana's gonna like shoot me for this, but if I know it's just gonna be just like $1,000 week a day, so like if it's smaller like that, she's,
I get it. It's fine.
I know she told Jess, I'm like, she's gonna be so mad when she hears my numbers.
No, it is what it is. I can respect it because I know you're not like crocheting 3 hours a week and you're just like getting lucky every single time. Like you're working really, really hard at it and
Yeah.
long hours. And I'm sure like if I had the ability to go full time or even just a little bit more time into it than what I have now, I could probably get there. But it is something hearing you guys talk about these numbers. It absolutely blows me away.
So I think from the last podcast that was released, I know you guys recorded another one, hasn't been released yet, but the one that I just heard, you asked her about, it was Adriana's market recap, and you asked her, um, you said something like, do you think it's worth it, or would you do differently, or do you
Like
think
if I
that's
was
the
looking at
type?
a wine show, would I do it? That one?
Yeah, or like I think you said, are do you think you've outgrown it?
Oh yeah.
That was what you said.
Okay.
Have you outgrown it? So, and it clicked because I was like, the more the higher a show is to get into, hopefully the more people are going to be there, which means that your sales are going to be there. So when you're doing like, and I do them too, when you do like 25, $50, $100 tables, $100 spaces for a day, you know, I'm only really looking at it like 500, $700,000 day. Like that's how my mind works for it, depending on those pricing. But as soon as you start getting up into like vendor fees that are around like 250, 350, 400, you should be upping your numbers to like 3 grand, 4 grand, 5 grand. So it's like based on the events that you're doing, also goes into, what we get out of it when we do the bigger shows, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I
Adriana's eyes
do,
when you said those numbers.
Yeah, like
oh,
it's beyond, literally beyond my comprehension. I mean, I hope to get there, but like, yeah, it's also just difficult with the demands of my full-time job. Like if I just had a normal 8 to 5 and that didn't like absolutely leave me so emotionally and physically exhausted at the end of the day, like I think I could get a lot closer, but it's just so hard. With
I will
teaching.
tell you though, there is hope because my most profitable day was at a $75 table. My most profitable day, it was a $3,800 day.
That's me. With my biggest show is always one. It's under $100. I think it's like 60 or $80. That's where I make the most.
Yeah. So it's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible, but the likelihood of you having a higher sales day is greater when you are paying more because hopefully they're doing more marketing, they're getting more people through the door, more people are coming to see. So it's really important, like when you're looking for events, to ask, what's your head count? Like, how many people do you expect to come? Because it's not worth it for me if they're like, oh, maybe like 500. Like, no, thank you. Um, and I will say I'll do those events, but only when I do them with my sister. And then she cancels, so it's just me. So, like, but you know, I'll do them in some cases. Um, and like, you know, and Jess and I had that conversation too, I think about that. And it wasn't a bad day. That was a $50 day. And it was still an $800 day for me, but I was like, man, that sucks. Like it's not what I'm used to. Um, but I was like, you should just be grateful, Avian. I'm like, yeah, I should. I am grateful for it, but it's just not what I'm used to for those days.
So something that's kind of popped into my head, it's not really related to the discussion we've been having, but what you are speaking about as far as like picking these higher cost shows or whatever. So like primarily you're doing, and both of you, I would say for the most part, not exclusively, but for the most part, you're doing like Comic Cons, right? So
I
for,
am.
yeah. So, like, for someone, how do I put this? Because, like, I don't deal with, like, the, like, anime or the Pokemon or whatever. Like, I don't crochet stuff like that. I'm not in that community. It would feel disingenuous to me, like, for me specifically, personally, because I know nothing about that stuff to try to make stuff in that space. What would
Hmm.
you say if Comic-Con's not for someone like me? Because I know we have listeners who are crocheting similar things to me as far as like a lot of it's like intended for babies or things like that. What do you feel like are the spaces or the markets that those types of people can apply for if a Comic-Con's probably not it? Does that make
So
sense?
the things that I know that you make a lot of gifts. You make a lot of things that would be great gifts for people. So focus events on like that are focused for purchasing gifts for others. Um, you'll do really well probably around like Christmas time just because of that it's a gift giving time. Um, I would, try and find markets that either focus something about gift giving, um, or I know it's hard because you also talked about on the last time that it's sometimes it gets oversaturated with markets. Which market do you go to? Um, I would almost say, like, don't be afraid to ask, like, are there other crocheters at this? Do you already have crocheters signed up for this? Um, you know, what do they? And then they say yes, and what are their names? And then you take it upon yourself to go to their Instagram or their Facebook or something like that to find out, oh, that's something that's too similar to me. I'm not going to go to that event. And just be a little bit more selective with the events that you go to based on that. So not only looking at foot traffic, but are there going to be other crocheters there? Um, I know that the things that I make, not a lot of other people have. So I don't care when there are other crocheters there. Um, I think you also have to get into a mindset of, like, you talked about it when somebody questioned your pricing. Like, my price is my price is my price. I work hard. Like, I'm not asking you how much you make an hour. So, and that's the next time somebody asks that, it's like in the back of my head, like, why is it so expensive? Well, how much do you make an hour? Because, like, this is what I'm pricing it at, is to pay my salary. And if they're like $50 an hour, all right, well, cool. Now this is worth $200. Okay. Like, so if that's what you make, then I should be making what you make. It's being more about, like, self-aware and just, like, confident in the things that you're selling and selling yourself, um too, comes into markets as well. Why are you smiling? Why are you laughing?
No, no reason.
Just be nice.
I don't know
Just
how.
give that girl the discount even though she bought a lemonade.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you knew it was coming up. Yeah.
So tell
Oh,
us.
by Jess's pickles. I'm sure she needs the sale.
Oh God.
So Jess, the most recent market that we did, she was, like, on the other side of the room. She came down to Hagerstown. And I have family up there, so I have family in Maryland, so, like, it's an hour drive. And of course, Jess, like, the whole show, we're to, like, texting back and forth, and she's like, "I just sold an anchor," and I'm like, "I just sold one too." Like, it was like going back and forth, or like, "Why are you selling on Spider-Man? I haven't sold a single one." She outsold me on Spider-Man that day, and yeah, it was just like, and then somebody was like, "Do you have any pickles?" I was like, "Just go to Jess's booth. It's over there." I said, "You just need the sale."
She didn't buy from me.
Oh,
I
what
know
the
she
heck?
didn't. I know.
Whack.
Well, and she didn't buy from me either. So, I
Okay.
mean,
We
we're
both
the
lost.
yeah, the only pickle I had was, like, keychain. It's still there.
So, you've talked a little bit about, you're going live at shows and things like that. I'm curious, like, how has your craft show season been going this year, both like in comparison to what you've heard us talk about in recent episodes with ours, as well as the prior year? How's it comparing? What do you have coming up?
Yeah. Okay. So I've made notes of, like, I went through all my markets pretty much from the past 2 years, 2024, and then this year for 2025. Um, I can tell you that 2025 has actually been slower and less sales. And it's not something that I was expecting. It's not something, obviously, that I wanted. However, it is something that I have heard consistently through other people that I've been to markets with, that they're not hitting numbers that they hit last year when they attended the same show. Um, Now, of course, that's not, like, consistent. Like, I talked to the 3D printer guy behind me, and he's like, "Oh, I made so much money," and I'm like, "Oh, that sucks." Like, he goes, "But it's the same amount of money that I would have made at a craft show." This was for this previous weekend's show. So, like, it's not consistent show to show, but I have heard people say a lot more than I thought would say it. Their numbers are down from last year. Um, So like I'm not like thrilled. And I can definitely say that because like I did my biggest event of the year for Awesome Con. Um, wait till you hear these numbers. So 2024's Awesome Con was a $7,500 show, 3 day. And then this year, I only did 4,500. So like, or no, 5,500. So like that's significantly different. Keep in mind that was a like a $900 entry fee. So like, you know, but um, that's a big difference when you're talking like going from year to year. I would have expected to at least hit those numbers, if not break them. And that's pretty much how my 2025 has gone.
It's not something I want to hear because that's how last year went.
Yeah.
Every show last year was less, and all the vendors I worked with were saying the same thing.
Well, you also have done it longer than me. So last year was my first full year in business. Um, so it was kind of like my starting year. So I would have hoped that, this year I could at least hit, if not break, numbers from previous years and shows. And did I tell you that Hagerstown, I actually beat it from last year? It was the first show that I beat it,
Yeah.
or yeah. So when we were in Hagerstown, that was the first show of the year that I had actually beaten last year's numbers. Um, I did do an outdoor arts and crafts festival, I think either the week after that or 2 weeks after that. Um, I did beat my numbers, but last year it rained. So like I can't even really compare that, you know, um, because weather. So, but I took a lot of notes if you wanna. My um 2024, my average sales at um at my shows were $2,200. And for 2025, they're down to 2,000. So
I'm just watching Adriana's
I know
expressions.
I saw it. I
I'm so
saw it.
sorry. That's like the one thing about me. I can't hide my face at all.
Yeah.
But like I can still see like, just looking at the raw math, like why that's disappointing.
Yeah. It doesn't make me like the happiest. I'm grateful for the things. I'm grateful for the sales that I have. And of course those numbers you have to keep in mind because I do those big shows, like the awesome kind of stuff. So those numbers are a little skewed. And I would say more so on the lines, my average show, I hope to be at least at a 1,500, but I do my scaling based on how much it costs me to vend. And I usually do times 10. So if I pay 100, I need to make 1,000. If I pay 200, it needs to be a $2,000 show for it to be worth it for me. That's kind of how I've always been with my math in my head. Um, Now when I do like smaller shows, it's just always like 1,000. Like that's pretty much what I want at all of the smaller shows. Um, but especially if because some of the shows I do have to get a hotel for, that is a factor in taking into those considerations too.
You have the stock too to reach those numbers. Like you and I have talked about
Yeah,
this. Like the
yeah.
number that you bring to shows, I'm like, oh my God, if only I would love to have
And
those numbers.
and I'm really high right now because I prepped so hardcore for AwesomeCon in hopes of hitting that seven to $9,000 mark.
Yeah.
Um, and for me to have an extra to come out having an extra $3,000 to $4,000 that I wasn't expecting to have. Like I went into that show, I think maybe like $22,000 I had of inventory going into that show. And yeah,
Did I have a stroke?
yeah,
22,000, not 2,200, twenty-two
yeah,
thousand, like a small car.
yeah, yep,
Holy cow.
yeah.
Go. You're amazing.
I carry usually, if you're thinking like IKEA bags, like on average, it's like 8 bags is usually what I have. Awesome Con is probably 15 or 16 bags worth, so double that. Um, because it's just such a big show. And I
Hmm.
literally made like 50 possums for it. They had their own bag. I had like a bag of possums and like a bag of Spider-Man and a bag of mystery bags. Like when you think about them on those scales, when I'm bringing like, 50 to 70 items of one thing, like in hopes of selling it. So like I still have a lot of that extra inventory, um, that I wouldn't necessarily normally have. And it kind of sucks just because for now, because I'm restocking the things that like I really need to make, like an elephant or a fox or something like that. But I still have like, 40 possums. So, you know, I still have a lot of inventory. And I have a hard time with leaving it at home because I'm like, what if? What if? Um, and Spider-Man, since they're one of my best sellers, I usually have to have at least, I don't know, 40 of them because I can sell like up to 25 or 30 of them at a show.
That's just amazing. It's literally just so, oh my gosh, I just can't.
You know,
So
I'm
then,
trying to make one Spider-Man right now, and he's pretty much done, but I just don't want to finish him. And then I just ordered more Spider-Man eyes, so I have to make more.
Where do you get yours from?
The girl whose pattern it is.
Oh,
What was her? Alex? Nope.
Lex's
Lex.
Lex
Yeah.
Lex's Yarn Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get mine from Abby, so all my stuff comes from Abby.
so then, how often are you trying to set up at shows? I can't remember if we talked about this or not.
I think you might have asked it, but I don't think I pointed on it. I try to do at least two shows a month. Um, because most of the time they're a little bit bigger and they're mostly 2-day shows. If I have a 2-day and then another 1-day, I'll probably put another 1-day in there. So 2 or 3 shows usually a month.
And so, like, let's say, like, you have a show coming up in like a couple weeks. What does your day to day look like as far as trying to prep for that?
Um, so I keep like a running tally in my head of like, oh, I'm running low on turtles, or I'm running low on bees, or like I need more possums. Last my show before my this last weekend, I knew I needed more trash pandas, trash raccoons. So like I keep like a running list in my head, and then I wake up that day, I'm like, I feel like making pandas, and then I'll pop them out. Like I don't that's how I do markets. I went on a turtle binge last week, like where I made like 20 tofu turtles and then I made like 10 more larger turtles. And then the day before my show, but before I need to set up, I was like, I need to make a bunny with a dress. Like I just had like an urge. So like that's how I prep. Because I was like, I don't have this. So like I don't follow lists. I make them as I feel like it. And if I don't have it, like if I don't have it, they don't know. They don't know that I don't have a panda bear. Like they don't know that. They don't know that I haven't made that monkey that I want to make. Like I really want to make that monkey, but I haven't made it yet. Or like, you know, people don't know that those things that you run out of. I went to a con and I didn't have any like chunky, Grogu's that I normally have, but nobody cared like that I didn't have them. So, I make it as I feel like it.
That's honestly a little affirming because that's for the most part tends to be how I work. I've been trying to like switch over to like having a little bit more structure because sometimes that helps me so I don't get like too laser focused, but it's
Mhm.
kind of the same thing where like I just try to lean into whatever it is that I feel like making and then and now if it goes for too long, then I have a hard time getting myself off of it. But yeah.
When I listened to your last podcast and you had sold that Lovey live. Congratulations. I hope
Thank
you've
you.
sold more since. And you were like, I have to make another one. And in my head, I'm like, she doesn't have to make another fuzzy bear. Or, she can make whatever kind of bear she wants to make, like, and put it in there. You know, I was like, good for her for sticking to something and following through. Because it's one of the reasons like why I don't do that is, and one of the reasons why I will take custom orders, but I don't advertise it. Because I don't want you to tell me that I have to make something, um, unless I really want to make it, you know?
That's fair.
I feel that.
Yeah.
So, um, we have a note for you to spill the tea on your market this past weekend. So feel free to share as much or as little as you want. I have no context for any of this. Jess has a
Really?
She has
um,
none, but she's gonna
yeah.
lose her shit when she hears what happened.
What happened? So let's give you a little bit of a backstory. I did this market 2 years ago, and this is what I took notes on. In 2023, I did the market. My sales at that market were 1,060. My booth fee for that, I think, was around 250. I'm gonna say 250. Um, and I really did some breakdown math on you. 58 items were sold, and so my average sale back then for that day was like almost $19 average sale. It goes into another thing I want to say. So I'm gonna 2025, for this past weekend that I did 1,600 in sales for a $275 booth fee. I sold 64 items, which means that on my average sale was $25 a sale. So like I upped it by $6. Um, another good this goes into I changed my pricing. I used to have my minis, some of my minis were 10 and some of my minis were 15. And then I got like my brain doesn't work like that and I just made them all 15. They're all 15 or 2 for 25. Like just mix and match, do with it as you please. Most of the time I can get people to get the $25 one. And it just kind of goes to show you that like now my sales, I'm selling more higher priced items. Like I have a lot of 20s and $25 like items. And that's my bread and butter. So like even though I do have anchors and I do sell them, and I sold one this past weekend, yay me. Even though I have anchors, I don't like depend on them for my sales. So when you're talking about trying to get to your higher sales at a market, look at what's selling and like kind of, adjust yourself for, I really want maybe if you sold more items at, $10 or $15, you could bring your price of your levies down. Do you know? I mean, I'm not saying to value yourself, but my profits on my higher items are so much less than my small items. But it averages out and it just makes up for it. So, that's another thing to consider when you're evaluating your business and moving forward for what you're planning to do. Um, I just thought it was interesting when I compared those numbers from 2023 to 25. And the only reason I returned, I didn't go back in 24 because I didn't have a good show. $1,000 show for a $200 fee is not good. Um, although I did hear from a lot of people that attended last year and they were like, no, it was a good show, good show. So I was like, I'll give it another shot. And it wasn't great. It wasn't great. Okay. Again, grateful for a $1,600 weekend, but it's not worth it for like me to go back there for those numbers. There's a couple of factors that it could have been as to why. And that's what we were talking about on TikTok at the market. And I am still like, it just gets better. So market starts off, it's going fine, really hopeful, positive, it's great. I didn't have my first sale. Market started for VIPs or for like weekend pass holders. It opened at 10. So technically it was 10, but general admission was 11. So we can really say it started at 11. That's usually what they do for cons is they have like a VIP early access and then they have like a general admission time. So let's just say it starts at 11. I didn't have my first sale until like 12:30. So
Ew.
from 10 to 12:30, I had no sales. And we
Not
can
even no
blame it.
sales. You didn't even have any people in your
There
booth.
was like almost no people in the booth. Um, and there weren't that many people in attendance, but I did have a neighbor across from me, and they were a brick and mortar, so meaning they have a storefront that's like located 10-minute drive from the venue. And the kid that was there was handing out coupons for the store. And if we can just imagine, right? I wish I had a table, but I don't. But like, if we can just imagine, like, this is his side, and I'm on this side, just like looking at him, right? So this kid would stand in front of his table and hand out coupons, but he would also walk across the aisle in front of my booth and hand out coupons. And most of the time, he would get people to come to his side. So, like, he was pandering. I don't know how many times I said it in live, like, and bringing people, taking people like away. I don't know if he knew what he was doing, but I did mean mug him the entire time he was doing it. And I stared him down hardcore. Um, and it was fine when he was just like sitting at his booth and just like arms length away and like giving out coupons. Cool. It's your, that's what you're doing at your booth. That's cool. Um, but don't come on my side to like bring people to your side. So we're like sitting there talking on TikTok about it. People are like, go talk to him. I'm like, I don't want to be a Karen. Like, I don't know if he's actually taking people away or if it's just slow. I started getting sales, people being encouraging. It's great. Um, Mom called, said she was coming. That's pretty much why our TikTok ended because mom isn't on TikTok live with me, but she will come to events when I'm close. While I told mom about him and she was watching what was happening. So then this guy, when I had two people come, and if you've ever seen my booth set up, I have a shelf out front, has all my turtles on it. I had a dad and a daughter looking at my turtles. This guy came over, interrupted them to give them a coupon as they're looking at my stuff. And mom is like, "Did he just do that?" And I'm like, "He just did that." And she goes, "Do you want your mom to say something?" And I said, "Should you say something, mom?" And she goes, "I'll do it. I'll do it." And I was like, if he does it again, if he comes over here physically, does it again, we can say something. But maybe it was just a one-time thing. I'm like, I'm not going to get into it. I don't want to be that person. So for the rest of the show, mom stood in the middle of the aisle and faced my booth so that this kid couldn't come across anymore. The remainder of the show. And it was probably like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours maybe. Mom stood. Oh, cat. Hey, hey, Jack. She stood in the middle of the aisle and she goes, "Do you think he got the message?" Do you think he got the message? Do you think he knows? And I'm like, I don't know, mom. Like, I don't know if he actually knows. It was like, so I don't know if that was the reason why I didn't have customers. I'm sure it was a factor. Um, you know, I don't want to be approached in an aisle like and handed a coupon. I personally don't want that. So why would I do that to somebody else? And I'm sure this kid was just doing his job because that's what the people at the business told him to do. So bless his little heart that good job. You did your job, but you did it too well. Um, and you were rude without knowing that you were rude. Like, thank God the second day it was a different kid, different teenager, and he wanted nothing to do with being in his booth. Like he just the whole time he was gone. And when he was actually there, he was just sitting in his chair, like flipping through his stuff and like, "Hey, coupon." Like, so that was like saving grace for day two. Day two sales were actually almost double what they were on day one. Um, I can say it was a factor, but then there was so many other things to consider with the show, like, you know, were there a lot of vendors there and it was just oversaturated with vendors? Were people just not spending money? Like, what was going on? I don't know. Mom was like, it's the weather. And I'm like, I don't know if that's what it is, Mom. Like, there's never one thing that determines whether or not a show is good or not. Um, but I was like, I can only blame myself because looking back on my numbers, like, you know, I hit, I don't want to say I hit the same numbers, but it was comparable to like when first starting out doing $1,000 in sales versus $1,600 in sales. It's better. That doesn't include the custom pickup that I had. That kind of made my day a little bit better, my weekend better. Um, Somebody came and bought 12 Spider-Mans from me on wholesale, so that was good. Um, I knew it was going to happen. He came and was going to pick up. Which, funny enough, when he was there and he was talking to me, he turned around and walked over to the guy and got a coupon. And I was like, come here. Did he pull you over there? He goes, no, we made eye contact. And I went over there and I was like, okay, good. Because if he just pulled you out of my booth, there would have been problems. Like, so it was just a thing. It was a thing. It was eventful. Hence my black nails because like I'm in mourning this week. Um, I painted them. I'm like, this is how I feel. This is how I feel.
That would make me, oh my gosh, irrationally angry. Like, how do you not know that you're being a pain in the butt? Like, to multiple people, not even just you as a vendor, but also, like, I work with teenagers all day. Like, there's no way that that they don't ever want anyone coming up to them for anything. So it just
Hmm.
amazes me, like, job or not. Like, I'm actually surprised that the kid was willing to do that.
Yeah, I would say he was late teens, early 20s, maybe.
Mm.
So like, and definitely the kid the next day was a teenager. But like, I I know that the jewelry people next to me had no problem. They were on a corner, so they got people coming in for both sides, right? And they probably can't even see what's going on. They don't even notice it. I neglected to ask the people on this side, but they were just kind of a little shy. Like we didn't talk very much until actually the end of the show on Sunday. Um, we actually like had a conversation. So I don't know if they noticed, but they did say they're like, yeah, we had a pretty good show. But again, I don't know what their standards are for good show. And like you are like, wow, 1600, that's a great show. But me, it's not good for me. It's not my standards, what I'm used to. Was That's what Jess was saying. I'm capable of more. Like I'm capable of it. And you know, I can't complain. It paid for rent. So like, but now I can't get the grips that I want for the gym. So like I gotta wait for those. Like, like it pays for bills, but like I want fun things too.
I get that. This business is what's helping me fund my contribution to my wedding. So
Yeah.
I need it to pop off in the next 18 months. Like I need it to go crazy.
Yeah.
What do you
And
have? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and it will, you just need to find a vibe for it. Like you just need to sit back and evaluate what you do and you don't want to do and what's get rid of things that don't sell and you don't need to bring $20,000 with you to a show. Um, I always suggest though, because people are like, how do you have so much? I'm like, well, I sit at home and crochet all day. Like you're not on my level. Like you all have most people like you guys, you have a job that you go to and that you have to do throughout the day. You know, I don't have that. So like I just crochet, which is why I have so much. And I should probably do more at home though, like vacuuming, but I choose not to. Um, but um, bring bring 3 times what you want to make. So like if you want to sell $1,000, bring 3,000. I always think that that's a good like jumping off point. Um,
That was
if
typically my standards, but it was just 2 times. So like
oh, 2 times.
bring double what I want to make.
Hmm. I just need more for the next show. So like just in case. So yeah, when I was initially started doing shows, like I had like $5,000 in inventory, usually on a rotating basis. But since I do larger shows, you know, they're up to, that like $8,000, $10,000 range. Um, just because that's what I like to have. And of course, the more that you have, that's one of the reasons too why my sales get high is because I have a variety and there's usually something for everybody. You know, almost everybody can walk into my booth and see something that they like. Um, and that's another reason why, I think my sales are so high too, is because I have a variety.
I was going to mention that like you do have a few items where you have like a stock of them, like the possums or Spider-Man or
Hmm.
whatever. But the majority of your space is like just everything.
Hmm.
Don't know really how else to put it, but like you have everything in your space. Like our booths in comparison, there is none because like I like to have multiples of every single thing where you have like everything and just like a one off or whatever.
Yeah, my bigger items that I have, I'll have one of something. Except for maybe some of the more popular things, like I do have like two wolves or like two raccoons, like things that, are just basic. I'll usually make like three elephants, but they'll be like different color ears, stuff like that. Like they'll have a little bit of variety. Again, they're still one-offs, but that's on my big items. I usually only have like one of those types of things. My smaller items, yeah, those are usually I have at least 20 of each item. Um, that's a lot. Maybe 10. I'll have at least 10 of something. Like 10 types of chickens or like 10 baby aliens. Um, unless it's something, of course, that sells extremely well for me, like Spider-Man, I have 50. I also have four different types of Spider-Man. So like that's another reason why I have 50 because I have like, 15 of each of them. So like, I have volumes of things, which is why I have so much inventory in stock. And I'm such a batch maker. Like, I know that even after I make this anchor, I need to finish the skein of yarn because I need it not to be there like a half skein. I can't do it. I can't do it. So I'll finish it and make a whole bunch of, dinosaurs or cats or like, minis of something. So like, I'm just such a batch maker when it comes to those things. Like, I just make them in excess.
That makes sense. So what does the rest of your 2025 craft show season look like? What do you have coming up the pipeline? Any special events that you're kind of planning for?
So my next event is a toy show in Baltimore, Timonium to be precise. It's the Maryland Toy Show. That's in 2 weekends, so the 14th. Um, they do it twice a year. I will consistently go back to them, and it's a 1 day, but it's very long. It's from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's crazy long. Um, and unfortunately, mom can't help me this year, so that sucks. That's my next one, followed by I think I have like the Fredericksburg Comic Con coming up here in Fredericksburg. Yeah, Maryland Toy Show and then the Fredericksburg Comic Con. August, I'm prepping for Once Upon a Con, so it's gonna be a romantasy one. So I'm excited for that. That's a 3 day event. And then after that weekend is Fairfax Comic Con that comes up. I applied for Harry Potter Wizard Weekend, which I'm super stoked about, and I'm like I really want to get into. Um, like I really hope I get accepted. But apparently she's like really strict on what you have, and you have to tell her every single item that you're bringing, and it has to be like Harry Potter related. So obviously, I'm not bringing Spider-Mans to those. Um, and then October, I have a huge event for Baltimore Comic Con. That'll be a 3-day event. And then my next big one after that is going to be a Christmas market in Virginia Beach. So that's the furthest I travel. I probably will add on another Roanoke show in August because since I don't have anything planned. Um, so that's probably going to happen. But for the most part, I have at least one show for every month planned out. And then I'll try and pepper in some smaller shows through there.
Sounds very busy.
Didn't you do Harry Potter last year?
I did, but this is a different Harry Potter event, but they haven't opened it up for vendors. It says like we don't know if we'll have space to do vending this year because the store that was hosting it moved locations, I guess, somewhere down in the city. So she said, we don't know if we're going to have vendors this year. So I'm like, man, that sucks because I do have that weekend available. And I did really well at the Harry Potter event, better than expected, like better than I thought I was going to do. So I was like, oh, this is, you know, oh, it's a small $50 show. Like I'll be lucky to make 1,000. No, it was like a $2,200 weekend. So I was like, this is great. So, I'll definitely do that again. It was outside too. So the fact that I'm willing to do an outdoor event, that's saying something.
Well, I think that wraps up my list of questions. Jess, do you have anything else for Avian?
No, I talk to her every day.
Yeah, she'll just text me later. Hey, I forgot to ask you.
I'm pretty sure
When are
I
you
have
coming? I need
one
these
order of
eyes.
eyes in the mail and one coming.
Yeah, yes. Your order of eyes that got set up. Can I tell you though, like I'm extremely grateful for Jess. Like she did, especially during January and February when I had like no markets on the schedule, she kept my income coming like with eyes. And she always gets a little bonus because like she helped me thrive and live for she for like 2 months this year. Like it
I
might
just
be
made
great.
myself broke. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, you paid my bills, so it might be great to think that am crocheting full time, but I still haven't gotten the let's save enough money for when we don't have markets uh quite down yet. So yeah. Oh, also, yes, if you are new to crocheting, don't forget about taxes because like that's a big thing. That's a big thing. So remember that as well when you're going into business for yourself.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Avian, so much for joining us today in this episode. You're our first ever guest, so
Yeah.
really, really special honor. And I know I'm speaking for Jess as well as myself. Like, we really enjoyed having you here, getting your perspective on owning your crochet business, especially doing it full time. And so thank you to everyone else for listening. Please rate and follow our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to follow all of us on our business accounts on Instagram and Facebook. Jess is at Craic Creations, Craic spelled Craic. Avian is at Florals and Feathers, and I am at Yellow of the Egg Designs. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.